Hi dear ones, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and I wanted to do a quick video to talk about codependency and why, dear ones, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. So the reason I wanted to do this video because I wanted to address those of you out there who have suddenly woken up to the idea that you're codependent and you're struggling with this idea that you are codependent and might feel like a stigma attached to being codependent. A little bit about my background. When I went into therapy, and my therapist said to me, well, you're clinically depressed, but you're clinically depressed because you're codependent. It was like someone said to me, Lisa, your breath smells because you eat onions every day. I mean, as I know that sounds so silly, but it was like light bulb moment. It was like I knew why I was so unhappy because I had this thing called codependency. And I wanted to know everything there was to know about it. And so over the years, and it's been like 15 years since that, probably longer, 15 to 20 years, somewhere in that range, where, that magical moment took place. And I realized that I was in fact codependent and suffering from this thing, this dis-ease. Hello, it's a dis-ease of spirit, body, and mind called codependency. And I believe that it's epidemic, but, whatever. I can only do what I can do, and I can only make YouTube videos, hope you like them, and hope you share them, and hope you start healing and becoming the light body being that we were all born to be. So I think that being codependent is actually a good thing because, for one, most of us are very, very kind, and most of us are very empathetic, and most of us really care about how other people feel. I just noticed my office closet door is open and I don't like it in the mirror, but whatever. I digress. So anyway, I'm not perfect, dear ones, and it's good. There's no such thing as being perfect. It's all good, whatever. So being codependent means that you're more than likely a very, very kind person, very empathetic person. You're a people-pleasing type of person, and you fret a lot. You worry about what other people think and what other people need. So, being codependent, if that's your MO, that's really nothing to be ashamed of. There is a better way of living and there is a better way of relating to the world. And that's what these videos are all about. And that's what healing and recovery is about. That's what my new coaching program is about not shaming you because you're codependent, but learning how to overcome being codependent and learning how to be independent, inside of self, living from inside of self, dependent on the self, coming into contact with the self. What is a self? How do you have self-esteem if you don't have a self? It was your mother and father's job to teach you that you had a self. And if your ass got ignored, then they weren't teaching you that there was a self in here. Ooh, I matter. There's something inside of me. Dear one, you were living in survival mode. Just trying to get through a day. Just trying to stay out of the way. That rhymes. Ha, he. But anyway, really, so many of us stayed small, which was brilliant. We stayed small and quiet because our little brains were so brilliant. They knew how to protect ourselves. They knew how to protect us. So those of us who had big mouths, we were constantly getting our ass kicked. And those were usually the older children. Usually, not always, but usually the older children were the ones who, didn't have siblings to watch and to learn how the family dynamics unfolded. So anyway, dear one, if you're codependent, there's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, if we're really going to heal anything like we heal racism or we heal, globally what people think about, for instance, being gay, if we're going to be okay with who we are, then we have to be okay with being codependent. And the more we say, yeah, I was depressed because I was codependent, or my marriage ended because I was codependent, we have to be willing to say this out loud so that we can start the conversations out there with other people and we can help other people investigate what it means to be codependent. Lots of light workers out there are suffering because they're very empathetic, they're very kind-hearted, and they have not been treated well in their childhood. They still need to feel seen. They haven't felt seen, and they're still trying to feel seen as light workers, which is a huge, huge problem because those of us who have incarnated on this planet, who feel like we have a specific agenda to help other people awaken, very oftentimes we have been born into families who did not see us. Lots of times we suffered with depression as children and suicidal thoughts, because we were so sensitive to other people, and we needed to be that way. We needed to incarnate on this planet that way so that when we grew up and we became adults, we can use this skill to be tuned into other people to our advantage and to theirs. The problem is that we've developed poor coping skills along the way, and we've allowed other people to take advantage of us along the way. And we have not learned to speak our truth along the way. So, I'm here to try to help anyone out there who believes that they're here to do magnificent, wonderful work, and who believes that they are meant to live a more fulfilling life. I'm here to help you figure that out. I'm here to help you learn how to be acquainted with the idea of being codependent and learn how to not feel ashamed of that. If you're codependent, more than likely you were brainwashed to become a codependent. That's not your fault, dear one. That's your programming. And I've trademarked that, by the way. Pretty smart, don't you think? It's not you, it's your programming, because I know someone out there is going to start taking that from me or trying. So I trademark that, dear one. Me taking care of me. Okay, and you, my dear ones. So let's investigate today. See if you can play with that idea of being a little bit more comfortable with saying, yes, I'm a recovering codependent. People don't know what that means. And the more comfortable we are in our skin about being a recovering codependent, the less shame there is about being codependent. And then people can go online and look, well, maybe I'm codependent too. And before you know it, light bulb moment, light bulb moment, light bulb moment. And the world is waking up because of something that you learned and something that you spoke from your heart chakra, from your throat chakra. It's just so cool to help enlighten the world that way. So dear ones, join me on this journey, and let's not be ashamed of being codependent anymore. That's not our fault. And because we are divine light beings and we have a higher consciousness and we have the ability to connect to one consciousness, unity consciousness, and be one with all there is, we have the ability to overcome the lower thought forms, because codependency is a low thought form. And you can overcome that because you're a divine inner being. And as you connect to that idea, you discovered the light being within you. And you realize that you're enough, and you always were. And codependency was just a figment of someone else's brainwashing. And that was done to you, and you can heal it. All right, dear ones, that's the lesson for today. Namaste. Love you. Bye.